They got to that level, and they got to be pretty successful at scoring on the guy, and they should score the guy. See, the knees are on the mat, you should score him. So what does that tell this guy on the bottom? I got to get my hands off the mat, doesn't it? So this time Anthony's allowed to get his hands off the mat, and he can get his knees off the mat. Tony has to learn how to push a little bit more forward. Push forward, now go snap, good, good, keep working it. And we might have a high-level shot coming up right now. He got his arm tied up, and it's good learning right there. Stop. He got his arm tied up, it's good learning. Anybody got his arm tied up? This right hand, we talked about it before. He wasn't here, he went front head right here. And Anthony just held that front head right here, and he worked on getting an angle to get his head out of the pocket right here. I call this the Jersey front head. For some reason, the kids in Jersey like going deep. For me, I'm keeping this elbow away from the guy. I'm trying to, if I go to my front head, maybe I'm faking here, look at my elbow, it's away from me. I have so much pressure with my shoulder here, I'm lifting up on his head here as I'm driving that down. I'm trying to keep this elbow away from me. If my arm goes deep, sucker drag. John was talking about it before, sucker drag. We're going to get killed right there. Okay? Tony, go down. No. Hands and knees. Hands and knees. Go behind on him, Anthony. This is a nice drill. And it teaches this guy to keep moving in there. Don't stop on his hands and knees because they get there with the shot sometimes. Okay, this time you can come up, Tony. Stop. This time you can come up. Go ahead. Oh, guys, put the doors off. Nice job, Anthony. Beat him on the whistle there. One more time. Good. He got his arm tied up. Beautiful. Good. They got to learn how to not get in there or how to get out of that position. We haven't worked on it yet. Okay, stop. All right. Last drill I'm going to do. John talked about knee sliding before. Let go. All head on the outside. Knee slide. All head on the outside. Two-partner drill right now. Partner's going to be working on drawing his leg back, putting his down up. Other partner has to hit 3 knee slides right now. 3 knee slides. And he's finishing up and he's going to turn the bottom leg. Let it rotate every time, okay? You with me? Move your feet on the shot. Move your feet on the shot. Good. Nice shot. Stop. See what he did? See his feet? He did a good job there, Tony. You see where his hips were? Did you see partner scrolling back? Here we go, Anthony. Your shot. Great drill right there. Oh, he got smoked. Good. Nice recovery. All head on the outside right now. Good. Nice job. The bottom leg, finish him all. Get those bottom legs, get the hips rocking right high. Nice shot. Good job. Okay, stop. Take away. Either turn the corner, get backside on him, or drive up to your feet, or ease it. Let's come back, head wheel him. Okay, you with me? One crawl through the middle. I gave him 4 options this time. I gave him a lot. Backside, good. Make him knee slide more active the next time. Good shot. Just that right there. Finish on him. Don't stand. Flip his hand. Come on. Nice job. Good knee slide right there. And hit him with this hand so we can see it. Nice job. That's beauty. Yes. Here. Now we went and move his leg right. Get your head up higher on the head wheel. Don't show everybody how you're supposed to finish that head wheel right now. This is Travis Velasco to a T right here. That's Travis Velasco to a T right there. That head wheel right there. And he's really good at sitting on his haunches but coming back this way. And you know what he would get at in this. Boom. Look how you made back. Put your forearm leg. Little details. Okay. Okay, boom, boom, right here. See where his forearm is right now? It's on his leg. Take boom. Travis would tech people in about 7 seconds in freestyle. Once he that move, the guy would go back and forth. Those splits right there, we work a lot. Getting his body. I can attack his hands. It's easy to attack his hands. Going off to a side and rolling. It's easy to attack. I'm pretty good. I have a really good grip, and if I lock this way, he's going to have a hard time getting my hand. So what I'm going to do as a defensive man is I try right there. So what I do is I retreat on him to try to either come in front, go double, or I'm going to try to get a lift. So what I try to do right here is I use my head to get pressure up on him. I step in front, I pop him with my hips. That's one thing. So I'll do the same thing. I run this way. We go ahead and double on. But I'm still trying to get his feet close together. Now, Tony, come up here. If we're locked, we're going back to 1950 right now. Coach turn. Okay, put your hand down. Okay, stop. Nice job, Anthony. What did he do just then? Coach DeMarco, would you get pissed off right now if I'm doing this to a guy? How much time are you going to give him?
Well, he's got to make an aggressive attempt.
Okay, I'm preventing him from making an aggressive attempt. So what are you going to do as a referee?
We're going to get back.
Who are you going to hit? I am stalling my ass off. Who are you going to hit?
Well, I know those referees do.
They're going to hit. One option. One option. Especially, I would do this if this guy's stalling and you need a point. Now, I taught this knockout and he did it in an overtime situation. I'm going, oh, just get off the bottom. Don't try to wait for a referee to make the call. You know, he's got 30 seconds to get out. So he's trying to get the guy to get locked in. And, you know, I should have been a little bit more specific. But I'm up on my feet. I'm blocking him from getting an angle. I got my hips down low. He can't pick me up right there. Generally, they're going to hit Dave. Who's doing the stalling? I'm stalling my butt off right there. But they will hit that back man every time. That's one option. Okay, and good. He went right to it. Good. All right, he's going to put his hand down in front of him. And he's going to cross his hand over. You going to make me look bad right now? We're going standing switch. Okay, Tony, go ahead. He bailed on me on that one. He puts his hand in front of him. He's going switch right there. I find it the best way. Here's one drill we do. Only get in right here. Try to push it out of bounds. Don't get too close. Don't get too close. Try to push out. The old standing switch. The old standing switch. Now, what's the key on right now? If he tries his hand in the back pocket, back pocket. No, you. Yeah, just try to go switch without going that in. It's easy for this guy to counter, right? Now, what you want to do is, or he crosses his hand back. When he crosses over, he gets in, especially if he's pushing across him over to the front. There we are in our trick position again. How are we doing? Question asker? Are we good? You know that? And it's different. That might be a little bit better than that. Share it with me. But this is my plan. You know, I try to have a plan for every situation. Load the leg inside. Knee inside. Left knee, left knee. Yeah, no. Yeah, right. This is another little, detail thing. The guy's throwing it off. A guy's trying to throw it off. If the guy's change over, this is just, one of those situations. We work. If the guy does this, we try to, try to go from there. And my mind works for wrestling. I analyze it and I try to break it apart. That way, I kind of treated wrestling. I don't say that I'm doing everything that's right, and believe me, every time stolen from somebody or trying to figure out, I watch videos, and I will say that my favorite wrestlers, I hate to say this.
Watching and listening. Obviously, I know a lot of you guys are sitting here now going, we don't have those type of kids. That's probably what you're saying. We don't have those type of kids. I said the same thing. But that's just hard work. That's just hard work. I know Tony was the best middle school wrestler. He just developed the hard work. Now he's around his father, he's around the program, obviously he gets better. But it starts out at early age, it's hard work. And we tried to do the same thing when I was at Jackson. And it's one of the things I want to talk to you about. Good job, Jackson. I will say, it's not one guy. It's not two guys. There's a lot of people that go in. The first thing I did when I got back from Lock Haven was I got a recreation coach. That was our first Coach Harris at the time, was the head coach. The first thing we did was we went out and got a very, very good rec coach. Now, not a great wrestler. Not a great wrestler. And for a long time, it was my father. We had ended up becoming Jim Huxford. People know Mr. Huxford, Zach. Keep those guys in, they use them. Now all of a sudden the community's involved. The community's involved because these little kids start looking up to these high school kids. And they want to be a Jackson wrestler. They hired two very good. I really believe we have one of the best absolutely right now. Absolutely, their technique's very good because they're doing it at such an early age. They're into it, and it's in a point now that has it going really good. And it's a whole big process. But that's the first thing we did. Rec coach, middle school. It got really separated us. It made us awfully good. Our practices were unbelievably intense. Just like I'm sure most of your practices are intense. But we kind of started teaching on the run. We did a lot of our work in the summertime. I know you're not allowed to work in the fall. So we did a lot of our work in the summertime. We go to high school twice a week. Work out and learn a little bit. But you do that, we do a lot of our teaching through our warm-up. John and I do a lot of our teaching now through our warm-ups. We do a lot of wrestling-related warm-ups. That knee slide drill Coach Buxton was showing. We do that in lines. Knee slide all the time, getting from our belly. Knee slide all the time. We do all that stuff through our warm-up. You can do a little bit more on one-on-one with them through that. But our practices they're up-tempo. They're up-tempo. They're up-pace. We go on. Let's 5-minute go. Or lightweights, 5-minute go. It's about getting in wrestling shape. When we did this at Jackson, we'll do 4-man drilling. But it's upbeat. It's upbeat. And you do not have to have wrestlers. I just think guys went at a pretty good pace all the time. And we learned how to run. I did everything basic. He went singles, stand-ups, capture, a little funk involved, which nowadays you got to do a little funk. But clinic back in Trenton State last year, edge of the mat. When would he ever be in a situation, edge of the mat finish? Back. Ken Carney, when would he ever do edge of the mat finish? Trip, state final, edge of the mat, pull in, backside hand post, finish. But we do everything right. Very basic drill. We do. Just leave a lasting impression on our referee. Circle in, shoot him out. You don't even have to score. Here's the situation now. I showed it, and this was my fault, because when I was at Jackson, I showed it the other day, and John had I was like, go ahead, walk on. Like, I didn't care. Sweating. And I didn't really need that at the time. Those are like little drills, common sense. So we do a lot of that stuff. Is the way to go. We'll start practice, and again, it's right. It's all they're doing right now. They'll alternate, they'll go on. Now we'll go to some standpoint. But guys, this is just a warm-up. All right? So we're not worried so much. He's pushing, he's pulling, very basic stuff. Pushing, pulling, we do a lot of our teaching there. So that makes it easy. But if I was at Jackson, at that time warm-up, during the 10-minute warm-up, I would go around and do our teaching, really hone in on what's going on. We'll change our practices every single day. You have to do that. Our recreation does it. And it wasn't that. Single leg finishes, single leg score. And there's a straight shot. A cafeteria for 11 years. All right, we have some guys in the room. No 3-man. I said we go 3-man drill again. We go or mid one guy. Go on these. Let's go up, down, go behinds. 1 minute, all of it for 1 minute. So it's a little different. One guy, he's going on top, doing all the movement. All right? Call him for a minute. Good. Brewer, you go. Brewer, go. Now, we just don't do this drill on. We won't just do this on our feet. We'll go on the mat too. You'll hear some. Next guy, start over. Bolette, you start. Stand-ups. Stand-ups. 30 seconds, all through. So it's here. And like he said, we're talking about all finding hands and things like that. But we're stroking. Go ahead, Bolette. Go ahead. Wow. We have 7 guys. 7 freshmen on our roster right now. Not one can get off the bottom. Alone is strong. All right, adjustment we got to make. Good, great, glad. There's the way we'll do it. We've incorporated what we call the Edgar drill. We have our part-time coach is Frankie Edgar. He's an ultimate fighter. He's one of the toughest guys in the world right now. I would say he's the number one running guy. I guess he's not the number one right guy. He's 8-0. He just kicks everybody's ass. It's great. He fights November 17th over here at in Newark, but he goes out to Vegas, comes back, he's really training. He's got an unbelievable tank, can go forever. So we drill. And this is pretty good. I'm not going to run into all 6 minutes. He'll be the guy in the middle. He's going to go 60% drilling. He'll go 60% per minute. He'll go 60% on both guys. All attacks, all leg attacks. Any leg attack you want. Any leg attack you want. Let's pretend the minute's up. Now we'll go 70%. Minute's up. Now we're going 70%. That's defense is about 7%. Hand fight with them every time, bro. Hand fight with them. We'll leg fight with them every time. I'll make it easy. It's about 70%. See, now you can see shots are starting to get bad. All right. Let's pretend the minute's up. Now we'll go 80%. Now we'll go 80%. So it's a little bit tougher. But like, you got to jump right on, all right? You're giving too much of a break. It's a little bit tougher. You can see the technique starting to wear a little bit, but it's up pace. We're getting in good wrestling condition. We're getting in good wrestling condition. We're at 80% right now. And this will go for a minute, so it ends up being about 5-6 minute go, depending on what you want to do. So he's getting a little lazy, fighting a little bit more. Let's pretend the minute's up. Now we're going out a little bit, Colette. Keep your hands off your knees. Try to be in this position a little bit more. Now he's making it hard. We're about percent right now. You know, he's starting to get tired. He didn't get a good warm-up. He's got an unbelievable tank himself. But he hasn't gotten a good warm-up, struggling a little bit, so don't get hurt, knock him down. So again, now after that minute, then our last minute will be a live go. So you turn it into a live go. Great, you guys don't have to do live. But you can see the pace, and we call those Frankie Edgar bars those. So 60% for a minute, 70% for a minute, 80% for 100% live the last minute. So you're putting a guy in there for 5 goes. We all know the group of 4, 1 verse 4. Then I'll go 1 verse 3. In on a single line. Then I'll go 1. We'll always changing the situation. We do a lot of situational wrestling. A lot of situational wrestling. Because let's be honest, when we get in a match, you're not drilling anymore. You end up in certain. We end up in this situation all the time. We're here all the time. We're in on the leg all the time. We're here all the time. We're here all the time. So we wrestle from here. We wrestle from here. Here's the worst thing, and I hated it when I was back in Jackson. Guys would start to drill, right? Guys would start to drill. When do you ever see that match? When do you ever see that match? And it was the hardest thing for us to incorporate into our practice. The hardest thing to do are drill bouts. When you saw Coach Bucks and his boys doing those drill bouts where they have to recover knees up, those are the hardest thing. The easiest thing to do in practice is wrestle a 5-minute match. Wrestle a 6-minute match. Those are the easiest things to do. So we try to incorporate every time we're drilling, and we'll do a lot of our drilling. Let's say we're with a partner right now. You two go. Let's go, we'll go 3 each. On the whistle, everything will be 3 each. We'll start with high C's. So everything's a hand fight. He's not allowed to shoot a high C until he hears whistle. So we're pushing, pulling, trying to beat the position. And he can get to his high C. Back up, back up, back up. Hand fight in each other's face. So now you see everything's off me. Great. You'll see everything's off me. So we'll do 3 of those. 3 of those for the other guy. Then we may go back on the bottom. 3 stand-ups each. Then we may do something on top. So now we're going neutral, bottom, top. So we change it. It's always changing. But the thing I found the most, and it took me a while to change this philosophy, I would tell our guys at Jackson, all right, let's go 5 takedowns each. So you get your real good guys going unbelievably hard, and you get your other guys, they end up doing 3 or 4. So I started using the whistle. Now they're forced to get up. So if they're sitting on the mat, you know who it is. You know who it is. You don't have to have the best guys to do that. It's really a mentality of how you should train. It's a mentality. This is the way you have to train. And your practice ends up going unbelievably fast. Like Coach said, we never, ever go more than 2 hours. The later in the year, the less we do. The later in the year, the less we do. It defeats the purpose. We always try to get out of the room. All right? If there's an opportunity to get out of the room, we get out of the room. Now we're in an unbelievable situation. We're doing yoga. We're able to go downstairs. We'll take a day off for wrestling. We'll go do yoga. All right? We'll take a day off for wrestling. Friday we went on the rock wall. We climbed the rock wall for an hour. It's great for forms. All this off-mat training is unbelievable. All those toys he has, throwing those balls, It's unbelievable. Those things are great. I don't even have that equipment. You know that. I have to go back to Jackson and steal the sandbag. I get like one a day. I get like one a day. And then when Stanley's calling me, I'm like, where are the sandbags? I'm like, I thought they were in the cage. But those things are great. They're a great way to train. Right now we're using these bumper plates. Some of you guys went down and weight. You know those bumper plates. We'll do a little monkey rolling, little conditioning. We'll get up. We'll just stand, hold center here, good basic wrestling position, and toss 55 kilos of bumper plates. And they're heavy. All right. We do a lot of track workouts with bumper plates. So if this is a track, Steve, bro, act like this is a track. Jog around the track. We told them we're going to do 3 miles, 12 times around the track. Very simple. All right. Now they'll do one warm-up lap. Warm-up lap's done. A dancer will take a bumper plate. He can put it over his head. He can put it here. He can put it here. And he'll run with the bumper plate. He'll do one whole lap. Good. You got around and pass it to Brewer. Now Brewer will do it. They'll run together. They'll do 5 with a bumper plate, 5 without a bumper plate. Good. And then they'll do a cool-down lap. So it's a warm-up, cool-down, 5 and 5, 3 miles. Toughest thing they probably ever did last Sunday. You don't need the best wrestlers to do that. You do not need the best wrestlers to do that. We've done those for years. Great workouts. They hurt. They hurt. They hurt me. They break me. And I got to the point where this past summer I wouldn't do them anymore because I didn't want to be embarrassed because I couldn't make them. So that they hurt. They hurt a lot. And again, you do not need the best guys to do that. Being able to compete, and I'm almost done here. Being able to compete and watching your wrestlers compete in the room. It's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. We'll do a lot of our live wrestling. It's probably not the best thing for injuries, but we'll do a lot of live wrestling after hard drills. How do you compete when you're tired? How do you compete when you're tired? That says a lot about somebody. That says a lot about somebody. And you'll always have a couple kids who don't mind getting taken down. Who, well, I'm tired, I just got done drilling, just got done running for 5 miles. It's easy to give up a takedown. The guys that are going to be successful are the guys that want to compete for every point. It's very difficult to take this guy down in a practice room. And if you do, he takes it personally. He does not like to get taken down. No matter how long our practice is, how intense it is. We've had those guys at Jackson. They were successful. The guys that weren't, who didn't practice like that, weren't really successful. How do you teach that? I think it's a mindset. You got to get in your heads a little bit. I think you got to be able to push the right buttons. But some kids always say, it's the easiest thing to say. Oh, I didn't care, I was tired. I didn't want to go. That's not true. If they're saying that, guess what? That means they really care. That means they're there. It's an excuse. All right? It's an excuse. And one of the best kids in our state, and I won't mention his name, one of the best kids in the state, I won't mention his name, from Tom's Reese, who's a state place winner, took second one year, took third another year. If you watch him work out, he's unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent. Doesn't part. He wins because he's so talented. And he'll always say, oh, I don't care, I lost that match. I don't care. I actually read the article last night because it hangs in my wall, a couple of the state championship things, but he was second one year and he was satisfied with it. And my biggest concern in recruiting him is how bad does he want to compete? If he's satisfied with losing, if he's satisfied with getting taken down all the time in practice, do you want that kid? So that's what you're playing with right now. He doesn't want to compete, he doesn't mind, it doesn't hurt him. He'll always say he doesn't care. I know he cares because he can wrestle. And he puts a lot of time in. He's a club kid, he's always wrestling, but he doesn't mind getting taken down. He doesn't mind working. I don't understand that. If you're going to practice the crap we go through, you better do it to the best of your ability every single day. What we try to do, we try to incorporate here, and I know we did at Jackson, when you walk out, and I got this from actually, and we did at Jackson, but more so here. I brought a recruit up to visit him, and he really does a good job. He helps me out, and he needs to recruit. But I was waiting for him up on not in the stadium, but in a practice facility, and he's got this little box. And if you think about it, this makes unbelievable sense. He's got this box, and every one of these football players, trainers, staff, faculty, every single one of them, that's 120 people. By the way, he's got them in the palm of his hand. When he speaks, everybody listens. It's unbelievable to watch. But anyway, They gesture. There's a little box and they gesture. And I'm like, what the heck? Everybody's going by. The trainers are going by. Take it from their head. I guess it's their thoughts and ideas. So Coach Sean, as he's coming up the pathway, right before he runs over to me, and I'm like, what the heck are they doing? So I asked one of the faculty who was there with me, and he says he takes all of his emotions, all of his thoughts, all of his ideas, and he puts them that are not related to football, and he puts them in a box. And when you step on that football field, it's all football. It's all business. It's practice, which is the most important part of the week. It's practice. And then when they were leaving, they all took it back. I'm like, gee, he's got every single one, including faculty and staff, doing the same thing. But that's why he's got the program he has right now. They're all believing in what he's doing. And it makes sense. When we walk in that practice room, that's got to be your philosophy. Forget everything else in life. Forget everything else in life. Let's wrestle for 2 hours. Let's learn. Let's get better. Because for us, I think it's the most important part. It's the most important part is that practice room. What we put you through in that room, you should be able to handle out here. And that brings us into our next thing. I know I only got 10, 15 minutes. You got to get your kids to compete in a certain area. I know at Jackson we were very fortunate. We had an unbelievable rivalry. And if it was Southern, it was Brooklyn Moore. If it wasn't Brooklyn Moore, it was Tom's Reese. If it wasn't Tom's Reese, somebody else for sure. We had an unbelievable rivalry. So for us, it was kind of easy. We didn't have a choice. We had to be able to handle pressure. We had to be able to wrestle in a big spot. Because we had 3,000 people at matches. It was common to have 1,500 people at a dual meet on a Wednesday night or a Saturday morning. It was common. But I know he brings his team to some of the best tournaments in the country. He's got that level kid. Some of you guys are sitting here, I can't bring my team to the beast. I understand. But you got to somehow get your kid, even if it's one individual, you got to get them in a big spot. You got to put them in a big spot so they understand what it feels like. The worst thing you can do is send your kid to Atlantic City when he hasn't wrestled anybody all year. I see it happen every single year. All right? We opened up practice the other day. We opened up practice, put 2 mats here. We had like 15 to 25 coaches, family, friends, some kids from school came in. And to a man, a couple of guys had cotton out. They were unbelievably nervous. So now what you can only imagine what I'm thinking. What are we going to do when this place is packed? Because we're going to get this place back. What are we going to do then? How are we going to be able to compete? How are we going to be able to wrestle off, even though it's each other, here in front of all these people? So I'm worried about that right now. I'm worried about it. So we got to do a better job. We got to be creative. And I don't know if it's crowd noise pumping it into the wrestle room. I don't know if it's more one-on-ones with people watching. I don't know what it is, but we got to be ready to compete in front of people in a big spot. Because in reality, that's what it's about. You got to be able to handle pressure. How do you handle pressure? You know, I know some will say you got it or you don't. You can develop it. You can develop. First thing, I think you need to be in unbelievable great shape. You need to believe in what you're doing in the practice room. You need to know that you can go 7 minutes easy. It's going to be easier. If you're going an hour hard, 7 minutes should be nothing. Now, of course, nerves and all that other stuff take over. But you got to put a big spot. And that's what we're fighting with right now. So we've opened up our wrestle-offs. All right, we opened up. From a high school standpoint, I will tell you this, and I know the easiest way to get parents off your back, it's wrestling. They wrestle golf. This guy won. I never, and I shouldn't say never, because that's not true. Very rarely did I ever do wrestle-offs. Very, very rarely did I ever do wrestle-offs. Because think about it, I'll take 2 kids for example. We had a kid, Brian Cohen, was a district champ, his sophomore senior champ. They're both in the same weight. And everybody knew they had to choose who would wrestle. They'd alternate. We go out to Minnesota, wrestle 6 times, they each wrestle 3. We alternated. At the time, we thought Swan was a little bit better. So, of course, he wrestled a lot of the big matches. But we would move our 25-pounder out and move one of them up. So they all wrestled. But the kid, Cohen, stayed unbelievably hungry. He showed up every single day wanting to beat that guy. Every day. He wanted to compete, and he wanted to be better. He ended up being a pretty wrestler. They wrestled off at the end of the day. Swan won, so he went to districts in an unbelievably close match. We had a backup on a 3-pounder who won the high school nationals last year as a backup. But if you wrestle them off in November or early December, is that going to train that hard the whole year? No, I'm not a varsity wrestler, I'm not. So I very rarely do wrestle offs. You have to do them. If you're worried about hair, that's an easy way out. It's your program. I know some places are different than others, but it's your program. It's your program. This is the way you do it. It's your philosophy. Baskaha and Russell wrestled off last year, and I'm great friends with the Baskaha. Great people. We have in our line. We're on the team. But I made it that because that's what we do here. So those are some of the things we did. It ended up working out. It was an unbelievable match, and the Baskaha kid actually should have beat him and lost because he took a bad shot because he didn't want to get hit for stalling. There's 10 seconds in the go, 2-1. It snowed. We didn't have school that day, so it's a 10 o'clock match with everybody watching. They both can handle the pressure unbelievably well. The Baskaha kid has never lost in high school. He takes a bad shot, and Russell hits go behind with 10 seconds, keeps his toes in, and wins. And I asked afterward, why did you take a bad shit? Why did you even take? Why didn't want to get hit? I didn't want you to hit me for stalling. I never do wrestle-offs. It was just no dad. And I said, but you didn't have any stallings. Why? What would it matter if I hit you for stalling? He froze. And part of the reason was he just can't. He was way back, but he's never been in. Went far though. He's been in big. So my philosophy on this. Now here we got to open elimination. Right? We're not going to lose kids. Another part of the roster. There's plenty of wrestling they can do. But we're going to do open eliminations just for the fact that we got to get them used to the environment. That's where we're at. Like I said earlier, and I want to get you out of here because I know you guys want to go see football games. Is there any questions? You want to see anything we're doing? You want to ask questions? Anything you're doing? My advice to you right now, very, very simple. Get your recreation involved. Get your middle school involved. That has been the difference for us. We got those involved, and we put a lot of time. It's not just I coach Jackson High School. I'm down coaching the middle school. I'm helping out with the recreation as much as I can. As much as I can. Because like he said earlier, these people look up to you. These kids look up to you. Those little guys at Jackson, they have idols right now that wrestle for them. We got kids in our town, or families in our town that name their dog Carney. I'm not kidding you. I know he's an ugly son of a bitch, but they name their dog Carney. And that's the truth. The truth. They look up to kids who gets the best kid in the world. Will go down and he'll spend his time teaching to the littlest kids. To the littlest kids. It makes a difference. It's important.
Coach,
Question?
what about the 80-20% all-season with the requirement at Jackson?
Oh yeah, our football coach, Coach Barnes, incorporated 80%, 20%. And really what it is our football players are required to lift 80% of the time, or to have 80% of the days, I should say. And you get 20% of the days off. So you take the day after football season, and there's a certain amount of days. You got to lift a certain amount of days. And as I talked to him more the other night, really what it is you get 30 days for being involved in another sport. That's what it is. So it's a percentage of it. So it's close. So if you're a football player and you have to get your whatever amount of days, you get a certain amount of days just for being involved in a winter sport. Get involved in a spring sport. He's encouraged. He wants you to do other things. He wants you to do other things. Wrestling's become unbelievably specialized right now, where our best kids are doing 10, 11 months out of the year. But we have kids at Jackson that do other things. They may fall, but they're getting work at night. It's really management, how you manage your time. You got to do a good job, like he says. You got to sit with your kid every day. You got to sit every single day. And it's not all of them every day, but it's every day you should be having meetings with kids, pulling them in the office. What works best for you? What can we do for you? Well, make sure you go to. Let's get an hour and a half drill in. Let's get a 50-minute go in on Thursday night after the walkthrough. You know, and for the most part at Jackson, our wrestling coach so really worked out. That really worked out. It made it easier. But I'm sure he didn't like guys wrestling during the season. You know, especially if they were pretty good football players. But they found time to get drilling. Winston, football player. And I wish he was playing football now. I wish he was playing football now. Something to get him away from something. A coaching standpoint, it was about 3 months away from those guys. But he spent a lot of time in the summer. He spent a lot of time in the summer. It's just like any, it's the time you make. I mean, the guy put in time. It's better. Guys are turning. I was 6. The wins by 3 football bouts. You're guaranteed you have to wrestle 3 bouts. You know, they got to pay for it. You can't outside of, I don't care. Get on the road and got to go to tournaments. Buffalo, Michigan State, it's what you put in. It's what you put in. From the high school level, it's what you put into it. Your kids are going to work. The coaches got to work. The coaches got to work. You got to work. And some of the reason we can't coach in our NJSA rules, Coach Buxton has a grade, he can coach year round. Freestyle is a sport of it. Freestyle wrestling, right? They got to do something in the spring. It's sport. Freestyle wrestling. Can you imagine getting that stipend? He's a freestyle wrestling coach in the spring. That's unbelievable. We're not allowed to see our kids in the spring. But when that spring ends, when that last day of graduation ends, we got to split in times. And you got to stay on it. You got to stay on it. That's the best way to program. Hold them accountable for what you want done. Hold them accountable. And each kid is different, and you'll have discipline a kid differently. But for the most part, you got to hold them accountable. You got to hold them. But as far as that 80-20, those guys in pretty good shape where they're making sure they're either playing a sport or they're lifting it around. It's a requirement by the school. It's gone to the board. You can't keep a kid. You can't keep them off the football team. But you could say, okay, you're on the football team. We're just the equipment. You're on the football team. You're just the 97 season was unbelievable. But we didn't want to keep it. Ended up winning the state championship a year later because he got a year. But anyway, that's for another day. But so you got to hold them accountable. If they don't do it, let's move on. Sometimes you got to, you got to cut your losses. There's difficult decisions we have. I've been in an unbelievable situation where I came from. My biggest fear is losing. I'm afraid to lose. National championship. We're there every single day, because I'm cheating these guys. They gotta train at a high level every single day. The one thing I was always proud of at Jackson is, and we never had a practice. I can honestly say, all the years, I can't remember just not a practice. You make it great. You make it great. It's not the kids. Kids are having a bad day. You gotta know who to smack. Sometimes you gotta know who to massage. Sometimes you gotta know who to say, hey, listen, get out of the room. All right, you're at. They'll fight you. Get rid of them. Because you're practicing energy every day. I can tell you how many times I've been tired, sick, but you never let it go. You gotta have a good day every single day. Because it's you. That's the way it is. There's not gonna be a whole lot of energy. Some guys are self-motivated. You don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. There's other guys you got to worry about. So you got to play each kid differently, but you can't. And that's one thing I've learned is change it up, change everything you do up. Don't be afraid to get out of the practice room. Don't be afraid to go because everything back off, rest, and that's where we're at now. We took the whole weekend off. I did well. If I do that, I'm not. You got to do that. Maybe just invite 5 kids to teach technique. Do a day where it's just, and there you can get some of your learning in. But you got to change it every day. You got to know when to give rest. Any questions? Anything, Coach DeMarco?
We're wishing you the very best of luck, and you certainly have our support.
I appreciate it. Shirts, we got hot shirts over there. We got hot shirts. You could get us on www.scarlet.